Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the two-game NBA slate. We do have another two-gamer to break down. I didn't think we were going to have any more two-game slates. After the Lakers finished off the Rockets, I thought that would be it for the two-game slates. But somehow, the Nuggets have been able to fight back and force a Game 7, between them and the Clippers. So we got Game 7 between the Nuggets and Clippers Tuesday night, and then we do have Miami and Boston kicking off the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1 between those two teams. So this will be for sure our last two-game slate. This will most likely be my last NBA video, at least until the finals start in a couple weeks. When the finals start, we'll see what the prize pools look like, see how much attention the showdown slates are garnering. If people want videos for the showdown slates, I will make them. I probably will be playing the final showdown slates, especially on the days where we don't have NFL games. Right now, I'm really, trying to focus on NFL. Mondays, Thursdays, Sundays, those are going to be days where I'm really grinding NFL, playing the showdown slates. Obviously, I'll be playing the main slate for NFL on Sunday, but, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, the days we don't have NFL, I might be getting some NBA action, whether it's a two-gamer, like we have a two-gamer Tuesday, but moving forward, we'll have showdown slates. I still might be playing the showdown slates. I'm still going to be playing MLB as well, especially on the days where we don't have NFL. I'm going to be uploading a ton of content still. This might be the last NBA video for a couple weeks or so, but I'll try and get videos up for the finals, for those showdown slates when they begin. I'm still going to be uploading a ton of NFL content as well. I'm still putting up MLB stuff on Patreon too. I do have a ton of content going out on Patreon right now, so if you do want to check that out, it is linked down below in the description. If you want to get more content from me, I do have a lot of stuff available there. But yeah, guys, let's break down this two-gamer, our last two-gamer of the season. I hope you guys did enjoy my NBA videos this year. You guys showed a ton of support, especially when NBA returned from COVID. After we had a couple months off and then we came back, you guys were just killing it with the support, man. I can't thank you enough. I know you guys enjoy my NBA videos. I love making them. I just love talking DFS. I'm incredibly blessed to be able to do this for a living. So thank you guys so much for all the support as always. Hit that like button. That's one of the ways you can show your support. Hit the subscribe button as well. If you have not yet, definitely hit that subscribe button. I'm uploading a ton of content right now. Be sure to click that notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and look at point guard today. We'll start off at the top. So Jamal Murray, our most expensive option here, $8,700 on Draftkings. He's also the most expensive point guard on Yahoo, coming in at $35. So for me, I don't think Jamal Murray is going to be a guy that I really go out of my way to play. When I was playing the two-game slates and Murray was on them, I really wasn't playing him much when he was in this matchup. This is just not the best matchup for Jamal Murray. Sure, he's a guy that has a lot of upside, but the Clippers just have so many good defenders they can put on Murray, whether that's Patrick Beverley, whether that's Kawhi, PG. Those guys can give Murray troubles. He's really only had, one good game, maybe two if you count 45 as a good game, but even at his salary, $8,700, I want at least 50 DraftKings points from Murray, for him to even be a guy I feel like I have to have at that price. And he just hasn't been getting there. I know game log isn't everything, but this just isn't a matchup where I really want to go out of my way to play Jamal Murray. I think this is a matchup where Jokic is going to just continue to have a ton of success, and we've seen that. The last 3 or 4 games, Jokic has just been dominating. He's the guy I really want to, get to if I'm going to play someone from Denver. So for me at point guard, I really like Kemba Walker. I really like Goran Dragic. Kemba's someone that has just burned me so much. Burned me a ton last series when they played Toronto. I pretty much played him the entire series, just about every slate. He had 1, maybe 2 good games. He had 2 over 40 DraftKings points, and the rest were pretty disappointing. This is a new matchup here against Miami. How are they going to defend Kemba? I still expect Kemba to play massive minutes. I don't know if he's going to play 44 minutes like he did in Game 7 against Toronto, but I think 38 to 40 minutes is most likely going to be what Kemba plays on a nightly basis. And then if this series does go, 6 or 7 games, maybe we'll see his minutes increase as the series goes on. Miami is a really good defensive team. You're really not going to have any good matchups. This late into the playoffs, you're going to have the best teams facing each other, so it's not going to be like any guys in a good matchup. But Kemba, he's just a high-usage guy. Gordon Hayward is still going to be out, I believe. Hayward's getting close to returning, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be ready for this game. I think they said that he was going to, play at some point, but it seems as of Monday, Hayward has not been officially ruled out, but fairly surprising if he's cleared to play. So it seems like Hayward's going to play at some point in this series, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be game one. Maybe game two is when he'll come back. So as long as Hayward remains out, I do feel pretty confident in Kemba. We know where the production is going to come from in Boston when Hayward's off the floor. It's going to come from Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. So those are the three guys I like most from Boston. Kemba's a guy I do like a lot here. 7,700, I still feel like that's a bit too cheap for him. He's really nicely priced on Yahoo as well, just $27 over there. I like him over on Yahoo as well. Maybe with this being a different matchup, Toronto was a tough matchup. It's not like this one's very easy either. But maybe Miami plays, different defense than Toronto did. I know Toronto was really kind of forcing the ball out of Kemba's hands. It'll be interesting to see what Miami does here. If they're not trapping Kemba or letting him shoot, then he's obviously a guy that has massive upside, and especially with Hayward off the floor, he does get a little bit of a boost in his fantasy production overall, and his usage also sees a little spike with Hayward off, and he's playing big minutes as well, which was something we didn't see much during the seeding games. So really like Kemba, really like Goran Dragic as well. Someone that I just played. I pretty much played him all playoffs. Almost every slate I've had exposure to Dragic, and I don't expect much to change here. I know he kind of cooled down, in those final few games against Milwaukee. He was just excellent during the Pacers series and at the beginning of the Milwaukee series, giving you 40 DraftKings points almost every night. He's been incredibly consistent. I know he wasn't as good towards the end of the Milwaukee series, but I definitely like Dragic once again. We know he's going to play big minutes. I expect 34 to 36 minutes from Dragic. Like I said, Boston obviously not that good of a matchup, but very likely that you see Marcus Smart guarding Jimmy Butler, if I had to guess. So, Kemba Walker, not nearly as good of a defender as someone like Marcus Smart. Maybe we'll see Jaylen Brown guarding Dragic, but I don't know if they'll do that, matchup-wise. Maybe they will, but I like Dragic here. He's just an incredibly productive player when he gets minutes, and they're giving him about 36 minutes a night right now. His price is $7,300, so I don't think people are really going to go out of their way to play Dragic. Like, he was really, really popular at the beginning of the playoffs because he was like $5,500. I mean, game one against the Pacers, he was $4,400, which is just insane. Now that he's up to $7,300, especially with him coming off some rough games against in that Milwaukee series, maybe people will be hesitant to click his name. But I still like Dragic a ton. $7,300 on DK. On Yahoo, I like him over there as well, coming in at $24. Him and Kemba are probably the 2-point guards that I'm definitely going to have the most exposure to today. Marcus Smart, 6,900. He was really good in the Toronto series, showed some massive upside, but I just can't pay 6,900 for Marcus Smart. Like, he's just not a guy that's going to give you, 45, 50 DraftKings points, which is kind of what I'm looking for. Even if he gets 40, that's pretty good at his price, but rarely is he going to get that. I know he's going to play big minutes, but if I can find the salary, I would just much rather play Goran Dragic over Marcus Smart. I just think Dragic, overall, he's just a way more productive player than Smart is. On the season, I think Dragic averages like 1.1 fantasy points per minute, whereas Smart's at I believe 0.85 or 0.9. Maybe Smart plays a few more minutes than Dragic, but I just prefer Dragic between the two. On DraftKings, I think Smart's just a little bit too expensive for me. Now on Yahoo, he looks a lot better over on Yahoo. He's only $22. That's a much more reasonable price tag for him. If you want to play him on Yahoo, I don't mind that price at all, but Lou Will, 5,500. Lou Will, not really a guy I've been playing much. His just minutes have been all up in the air, way down. 19, 24 in the last two games. Sure, Lou Will has upside, but I doubt I get to him at 5,500. Honestly, for me, I'm going to be playing Kemba and Dragic the most at this position. As a value, I still think Patrick Beverley is viable. He's 4K on DraftKings. Got up to 18 minutes, or only played 18 minutes last game, but he was in foul trouble that game. I believe he did foul out with I think they were 3 or 4 minutes into the third quarter, so there was 8 minutes left in the third quarter, and that's when he fouled out. Or I think he picked up his 5th foul with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. Yeah, that's what happened. So he picked up his 5th foul with 8 minutes left in the third quarter, sat out the entire third quarter, and then he came back into the game with 10 minutes left in the fourth, and then he picked up his 6th foul. So he lost a ton of time last game because of the foul trouble and eventually fouling out in 18 minutes. We saw Beverley get up to 27 minutes the game before that. If he's not in foul trouble in Game 6, does he play close to 30 minutes? I think most likely he does. So we're probably going to get, 26 to 28 minutes from Beverley today, maybe even 30 minutes. We know he plays great defense. He's going to be a guy that they use to guard Jamal Murray. He's played pretty good defense on Murray so far in this series. Obviously, Beverly is not a very productive player. I mean, as you can see, he played 27 minutes, but he still only gave you 17 Draftkings points. Not a very productive player overall. But if he's going to play close to 30 minutes and he's only 4K, value is very hard to come by on these two gamers. With it being the playoffs, rotations are very tight. You're not going to see a lot of, bench guys getting much run that we could target for value. So you're going to have to play guys you don't feel too confident in. Beverly's not someone I normally like to play, but he's 4K. He's going to play close to 30 minutes. He's definitely in play as a cheap option, especially if you're trying to get in, Kawhi, Jokic, Tatum. If you want to build around these studs, it might be tough to do that unless you plug in a cheap guy like Beverly. So I do like Beverly as a cheap option. Really not going to anyone else, though. Monte Morris, I think he got, he's only been getting 15 to 18 minutes. Don't really want to go there. Don't want to play Shamet or Wanamaker. So, let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard. Paul George at the top here. Now, this is someone that I really haven't been on recently. But, man, he's been really good the last few games. Over 50 Draftkings points in 2 straight. Playing big minutes as well. 42 minutes, 39 minutes. With this being a Game 7, I think it's very likely you see Paul George play about 42 minutes. He'll definitely be on the higher end of his minutes in this game. You could always pay up for Paul George. I would definitely prefer Paul George over Jamal Murray. Honestly, I think I probably would prefer Paul George over Jimmy Butler as well. I really haven't been on PG much, but I do like him. If I'm going to pay up at shooting guard, he's the guy that I want to go to, especially because, with the Raptors being eliminated, Fred VanVleet has been someone that I've been playing a lot over Paul George, but obviously Fred VanVleet not on the slate anymore. So I do like PG quite a bit. I like him on Yahoo as well. He's $34. He's actually coming in cheaper than Jimmy Butler over there. So I think PG does make a ton of sense on Yahoo. Jimmy Butler is fine for $8,500, but I think I would rather play PG over him. Jaylen Brown was someone that I was on a lot last series. I'm definitely going to be on him again in this series. He's going to play big minutes. He should be pretty productive as long as Gordon Hayward remains out. I know he's expensive at $8K, but Brown showed the upside to pay off this price tag. Definitely a guy you could look to. I think overall, if I'm going to pay up at the shooting guard position, I probably just want to get to Paul George if I can. But Brown's fine as a secondary option or as a guy you could pivot to. But if I'm not going to Paul George at the top, then we do have, some value here that we'll talk about. Starting off, though, Tyler Hero, $5,400. Going to get probably 32, 34 minutes off the bench. Showed some upside in that Milwaukee series. This matchup against Boston, I think is a little bit worse for Hero just because Boston doesn't play as fast as Milwaukee does. Milwaukee did allow a lot of three-point attempts during the regular season, so that was a matchup that kind of set up well for Hero's skill set. This is a tougher spot against Boston, but Hero's still going to get, over 30 minutes off the bench. He's $5,400. He's for sure in play. I would definitely prefer him over Lou Williams. If I just had to choose between those two guys, for sure give me Hero over Lou Will. But Gary Harris is someone I like a lot as a value play. Saw him get up to 42 minutes last game in Game 6. Was pretty productive as well with 31 Draftkings points. Harris was in foul trouble in both of his last 2 games before that. So in Game 5 and in Game 4, he was in foul trouble. He eventually fouled out in 23 minutes in Game 4 and then fouled out in 27 minutes in Game 5. Was not in foul trouble in Game 6, and we saw him get up to 42 minutes. Harris is, he's healthy right now, so he's going to play big minutes as long as he's not in foul trouble and as long as the game does stay close. He's a really good defender, so they need his defense out there guarding guys like Paul George and guarding Kawhi. I really like Gary Harris as a cheap option. Never a guy you feel too confident playing just because he's not a great point-per-minute player. But he can knock down threes. He can get you defensive stats. We saw that last game, picking up 4 steals. It's not weird, or it's not out of the realm of possibilities for Gary Harris to get 4 steals because he is, a guy that can rack up steals, can get those defensive stats. We don't have much value on this 2-gamer, so Gary Harris for me is a cheap option I do like. $4,600 on DK, really cheap on Yahoo as well, just coming in at just $13. I think right now he looks like one of the better cheap options under 5K, and we don't have a ton of options, to begin with under that price tier. So I do like Harris as a value. Duncan Robinson for $4,500. How many minutes is he going to play? Only played 14 minutes. I believe he was in foul trouble a lot, though, in that final game against Milwaukee. We saw him get, 30 minutes the game before that, 39 minutes. His minutes are all up in the air. You never know what you're going to get from Robinson. He could play 35 minutes. He could play 25 minutes. He could play 20 minutes. We just don't really know here. I feel more confident in Gary Harris's minutes. So I think I would rather go to Gary Harris over Duncan Robinson. Don't really see myself playing much of Robinson, and there's really nobody else I want to play at shooting guard. So for me, at this position, I really like Gary Harris, Tyler Hero, and Paul George, and I think Jaylen Brown is, in play as well. Those are the guys I like most at shooting guard. I think Yahoo, Marcus Smart, I do like him over there as well, $22. But moving on to small forward now. So at the top here, we got Kawhi for 10-4, Jason Tatum for 9,700. Last slate, I came out and said I wanted to play Tatum over Kawhi, and I'm pretty sure that did work out well, or I think it worked out well if I'm not mistaken. Tatum had 60 DraftKings points in 44 minutes in Game 7, whereas Kawhi in Game 5, he had 60 DK points in 39 minutes, so they about scored the same. Tatum still outscored him, though, and Tatum was cheaper. So I was on, the Tatum over Kawhi last slate. I think for this slate, I do prefer Kawhi over Tatum, especially with it being Game 7. I think Kawhi just plays massive minutes. He got 41 last game. Very likely you see about 42 to 44 minutes from Kawhi here. He's going to be out there as long as the game is close. They're going to need him here. I think it's so crazy to see Denver has come back in this series. This is anyone's game right now. It's literally a Game 7. It could go either way. This would be a huge upset if Denver were to, win this game and advance to the, Western Conference Finals. Honestly, as a Lakers fan, I hope Denver wins because I think the Lakers would just easily cruise against Denver, whereas the Clippers are a much tougher test. So Kawhi is a pay-up option. I feel very confident in him. In a Game 7, massive minutes, going to get a ton of usage. He's been awesome in the playoffs, and I don't expect much to change here. He's the guy I would rather pay up for between him and Tatum. Obviously, Tatum's in play as well, but this isn't a great spot against Miami. Miami does have some good defenders. Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, both those guys are going to see match up with Tatum. Maybe even Bam Adebayo gets some time against Tatum. Tough spot for Jimmy Butler. Tough spot for Jason Tatum, excuse me. I think I'd rather go to, Kawhi for a little bit more if I can find the salary. We talked about Jaylen Brown. I do have some interest in him. Gordon Hayward, like I said, I'm not sure if he's going to play here. It seems unlikely he plays in this game. More likely that he plays in Game 2. But I guess if Gordon Hayward were to play and he's not limited, for 6,600 on a 2-game slate, he would for sure become a viable option. But that'll be some news we just have to wait and see on. Luckily, this is the first game on the slate, so we'll definitely have, Gordon Hayward news before lock on Tuesday. And then we get down to these mid-range options, the guys that I've just been getting burned by all series. Michael Porter Jr., Marcus Morris, Jeremy Grant. These are the guys that have just been killing me. I don't know what to do with these three guys. I feel like I have to play them because there's no one else to go to at small forward. I can't just pay up for everyone. I have to play some cheap guys. So Porter Jr., I liked him a lot last slate, and he did get solid run, or it was a slate before that. So this game 6 was this was a showdown game. This was on Sunday. Nobody was really playing the showdown slate. I'll be honest, I didn't even watch this game. I didn't even really pay attention to it. I saw that Denver had pulled off the upset, and I saw that we were going to have a 2-game slate on Tuesday, which made me kind of happy. But I didn't really watch much of that game. But the game before that, Game 5. That was when I was very high on Porter. After he was coming off a 34-minute game, I thought it was clear that he was going to get, pretty big minutes off the bench. And then Malone plays him 22 minutes. And then in Game 6, he plays 27 minutes off the bench. So I don't really know what to do with Michael Porter right now. My best guess is he plays upper 20s, maybe low 30s in minutes. He's still the guy that I want to go to from Denver. I definitely think he's in play here at 5,300. Marcus Morris, I feel pretty confident in his minutes. He's played over 30 minutes in every game in this series. Only game he didn't play 30 minutes was Game 1, and that was a big-time blowout. So we know we're going to get 30 minutes from Marcus Morris, but you just don't know what the production's going to look like. Paul George and Kawhi are just taking up all the usage right now. As you can see, Morris has been pretty, up in the air. He had a good game in Game 1, but then 14, 21, 14, 25, and then 10 DraftKings points. Sure, he could randomly, spike a 30-point game, knock down some threes, have a couple rebounds fall his way. Maybe he picks up a few defensive stats. Minutes-wise, I think he's probably the safest guy, but production-wise, I think Porter gives you more upside in terms of production. Jeremy Grant, another guy that, I feel confident in his minutes, but although, he only played 20 last game, looks like he was in foul trouble, though. He did have 4 fouls in those 20 minutes, but the game before that, he did play 36, 34, 42. I think Grant does play pretty big minutes as long as the game is close, but he's another guy that's just not very productive at all. When he's in the starting lineup and playing alongside Jokic, playing alongside Jamal Murray, Jeremy Grant's just not going to be very productive. It's not surprising to see him play, 40 minutes and only give you 15 fantasy points because, his floor is pretty low. His ceiling isn't that high either. if I'm going to play one of these mid-range guys, I would probably rank them with how they are priced. Porter number 1, Marcus Morris number 2, and then Jeremy Grant number 3. I'm probably going to play Porter the most. I'll mix these 3 guys into all my lineups just because I need some value somewhere. I can't play all the expensive guys. Just because I plug in Gary Harris as a value doesn't mean I can really just pay up wherever I want. I'm still going to have to find some cheap options elsewhere. I do like Kawhi at the top of the small forward position, but I feel like Michael Porter Jr. probably going to be the guy I play the most here just because I want to try and pay up for like Kemba and Dragic. I really like Jokic, and we'll talk about him when we get to center. So that's really my thoughts there. Iguodala, Duncan Robinson, we talked about Robinson. Iguodala really won't be on him. Only going to play about 18 to 20 minutes if I had to guess. With this being a new matchup against the Celtics, we'll have to see how Iguodala is used here. Maybe they use him differently, but for now, I'm just going to assume he plays about 20 minutes off the bench, so I don't really want to go there. That's really it for small forward. Hitting on power forward now. Jay Crowder for 5,800, I do have some interest in. He's just going to play pretty big minutes if I had to guess. Was getting very consistent minutes. He didn't get that consistent minutes at the start of the Milwaukee series, or at least in the Pacers series, but in the Milwaukee series, they were using Crowder a ton. He played over 30 minutes in every game after only playing, about mid-20s in minutes during the Pacers series. Because he played over 30 minutes every game against Milwaukee, I have to assume that Crowder's going to continue to get, about 30 minutes, if not more. Obviously, it's not the best spot against Boston. We're not really going to have any good matchups to begin with, so I do like Crowder. I feel pretty confident in him just because I think the minutes are going to be there, and he showed when he gets, 32 to 34 minutes, he can give you 30-plus DraftKings points. 30-plus DK points isn't great at 5,800. I'm more or less looking for about 35, close to 40. But Crowder can knock down threes. He can grab some rebounds. He can get you those defensive stats. I do like him a lot at power forward, especially just with how weak the position is. Not a lot of these options you're going to feel too confident in. So I like Crowder at 5,800. I like him a lot on Yahoo as well at $19, especially with how weak power forward is. If Hayward doesn't play, then you're only left with about 4 options, either Crowder, Marcus Morris, Paul Millsap, or Jeremy Grant. Those are really only the guys you're going to be playing at power forward. So Crowder, I expect, gets a lot of my ownership at this position. Then we talked about Porter, Morris, Grant, these guys. Millsap I don't really like. His minutes are just so up in the air. Only got 21 last game. I think you see Michael Porter Jr. play about 30 minutes off the bench, which is going to take away minutes from Millsap. So I don't really want to go to Millsap. Tice is fine for 5,700. In this matchup against Miami, it's a different matchup. I think he's still going to get the minutes though, especially because they're going to need size out there against Bam Adebayo. I think Tice should play about 30 minutes a night in this series. He's for sure in play at 5,700, but I think between him or Crowder, probably would prefer Crowder for a little bit more, but both guys are viable for sure. Really, that's it, though, for power forward. If you're not paying up for Tatum here, Kawhi doesn't even have power forward eligibility, so that kind of sucks. But if you're not paying up for Tatum here, then you're probably going to go to a guy like Crowder or Tice or Porter Jr. Those are the guys I feel most confident in at the power forward position. Now, hitting on center quickly, I want to pay up for Jokic on this slate. I like him a lot on both sides. 10K on DraftKings. Looking at Yahoo, you got him coming in at $44. He's my favorite stud on the slate. He's just been so dominant in this series, pretty much the last 4 games. After having a disappointing game 1, and I think he bounced back in game 2. Like after having a disappointing game 1, Jokic has been over 50 DraftKings points in 5 straight games against the Clippers. He's really been able to succeed in this matchup. He's playing big minutes. It's a matchup where you would expect Jokic to have success. They don't really have any good defensive center that can put up against Jokic. They're either going to run Zubac out there or Harrell out there to guard Jokic, and both those guys just don't stand a chance. Jokic is probably, in my opinion, he might be the best center in the league right now. I mean, his game, it just looks incredible. There's a chance that, he plays more than 40 minutes here with it being Game 7. If this game stays close, like Jokic might just play as much as he can. You might see 42 to 44 minutes if he can just, if he doesn't pass out. So I like Jokic a lot, man. I know he's expensive at 10K, but he should just continue to dominate here. I wouldn't expect him to slow down in a Game 7. Jokic is my favorite stud on the slate. I do prefer him over Kawhi, over Jason Tatum. He's the guy I really want to pay up for today. But then you have Bam Adebayo, who you could for sure go to at 8,400. But for me personally, I think if I'm paying up at center, I just want to play Jokic at the top. Boston is a team you can attack down low. They're a good defensive team overall. Tice is a decent defender, but Bam Adebayo is such a productive guy. We know he's going to play pretty big minutes. He's a guy that can just give you everything, can legit triple-double. He can get those defensive stats as well. He has upside, but like I said, I really want to try and pay up for Jokic. Tice is fine in the mid-range. Zubac I do like. Got up to 30 minutes in Game 6. 32 minutes the game before that. 30 minutes the game before that. Like, his minutes still feel very secure right now. As long as he's not in foul trouble, I think we get about 30 to 32 minutes from Zubac. His production's kind of been iffy, but 30 to 32 minutes from him at only 4,800 definitely puts him on my radar as a value center. So he's for sure in play. Millsap, don't really want to go there. Harrell not getting the minutes, don't want to go there. So for me at center, it's mainly Jokic at the top, who I love, Adebayo, Tice, and Zubac. Those are really the only guys that I'll be going to at center today. So I think we covered center, guys, and I think we broke everything down for this 2-game slate, our last, 2-gamer of the season. I hope you guys, have enjoyed my NBA videos. Even though we've been having 2-game slates recently, you guys have still been showing a ton of love on the NBA videos. So I can't thank you enough for that. I do appreciate all the support, guys, as always. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I think when the finals start in a couple weeks, I'm pretty sure we're going to have big tournaments, big contests for the finals, for the showdown slate. So I will most likely be making videos for those. Probably won't have any videos, though, for the next week or two with the conference finals going on. I'm really going to be trying to focus on NFL over the next 2 weeks, getting up a ton of NFL content throughout the week on the channel, 3 to 4 videos every week. But when the finals start, I'll try and get up some videos for the finals. I'll still be making NFL videos, like I said. And on Patreon, I'll definitely be covering NFL, NBA, and MLB over there. So if you do want to get access to my content on Patreon, you can check that out, link down below. As always, you can get more content from me over there. But best of luck tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.